The White Sox have been a disaster these past couple years, losing over 100 games last season and projected to do even worse this year. Their former bright young core now looks dull and aging, and with a pretty thin farm system, there's not much to look forward to with this team. With Dylan Cease being shipped off to the Padres a few weeks before the season started, it began to look even worse. With Cease gone, however, that opened up the number one spot in the rotation. Most people didn't really pay attention to it, but that spot was given to Garrett Crochet, who had never started a game before. But he got the opportunity to, and he took advantage of that opportunity. Crochet took the ball on opening day against the division rival Tigers, pitching 6 innings, allowing just 1 run on 5 hits, while striking out 8 and walking none. Of course, the White Sox ended up losing the game 1-0 because it is the 2024 Chicago White Sox at the end of the day, but Crochet looked very good. It's just one game though, so let's not get too excited. 5 days later, Crochet got the ball again, and this time he was even better, going 7 innings, allowing just another run and striking out another 8 batters. In his third game, he gave up 2 runs off 1 home run to Hunter Renfroe, but was solid the rest of the way with 5 strikeouts and no walks over 5 innings of work. Not too bad for your first 3 starts of your career. It looks like after 5 years after making his debut in the majors, Crochet has finally found success, which is something that he's been looking for a while. Crochet debuted in the heat of the pandemic in 2020 after being drafted less than 100 days before in the shortened 5-round draft. He was selected in the first round 11th overall by the White Sox. Since there were no minor league games being played in 2020, Crochet was brought straight to the majors, something last done by Mike Leake in 2010. He shined in just 6 innings of relief work, showing off his triple-digit fastball while not giving up a single run or walk. When you have that kind of stuff with that good control, a lot of people are going to be talking about it. The hype would not last long though, as he was removed from his outing in the 2020 playoffs with the dreaded forearm tightness, which would be diagnosed as a minor issue. He returned to the bullpen in 2021, but his fastball didn't. He was no longer throwing 100+ miles per hour, as his average fastball was sitting at 96.7 all of a sudden. It is a little concerning to see a 22-year-old pitcher who relies on his velocity have almost a 3-mile-per-hour drop to that velocity. In 2020, he threw 72 fastballs and 69 of them were higher than 99 miles per hour. In 2021, his max velocity was recorded at 98.9. Crochet was confronted by the media with his concerning statistic, and this is what he had to say. With adjusting to big league hitters, before I was throwing it as hard as I could in a general direction, and then I felt like I needed to hone in and just be more of a pitcher than a thrower. That's the main thing. I do feel a lot more like a pitcher right now. I feel very good about what I'm doing out there. I'm just trying to make it through 162 games, with this being my first full season, getting in the weight room, feeling stronger every day, and as long as the arm feels good, then I'm okay with whatever the velo board says. So maybe it's not an arm problem, maybe it's just him controlling himself and him becoming a better overall pitcher, not just some guy that goes up there and throws hard. 2021 would turn out to be an okay year for Crochet, as he would finish the year with 54 innings of relief and a 2.82 ERA and a 2.80 FIP. He put up 1.4 F-WAR coming out of the bullpen, and these are great numbers for a 22-year-old, but it would soon take a turn for the worst. In spring training in 2022, Crochet would feel a pop in his elbow, and this time, the injury wasn't just minor. He now had to get Tommy John surgery. He would miss all of 2022 and most of 2023. When he did play in 2023, he did not look good. In 12.2 innings, he averaged just 96.5 miles per hour on his fastball and struck out less than a batter per inning. Heading into this past offseason, the hype had obviously died down on Crochet after the injury and disappointing numbers. Manager Pedro Grifol had enough confidence to send him out there on opening day, and he did not disappoint. We already talked a little bit about his 2024 start so far, so let's really dive into them now. The first thing I always want to look at in a pitcher is their arsenal. Pretty self-explanatory, right? A pitcher can only be as good as the pitches that he throws. He throws a 4-seamer, a slider, a changeup, and he added a cutter to his arsenal for the 2024 season, which we will get into in a little. The pitch he throws the most, of course, is his 4-seamer. In the first 2 games, his fastball sat on average at 97 miles per hour, and he has run it up to 99.8, which is much better than he's done in the past couple seasons, even as a starting pitcher now. In terms of the shape on the fastball, it's nothing too crazy. It has about average movement on it. The spin rate or efficiency is nothing too crazy. Another thing that also really helps this fastball is the extension that he gets down the mound. So far in 2024, he's in the 87th percentile in extension at 7.1 feet. This means that his release point is going to be a lot closer to the plate than what most pitchers have. This obviously will shorten the distance the ball has to travel to the plate, which can make the ball seem like it's traveling faster when it actually isn't. The ball just has less time in the air, which means the batter has less time to react. Shorter distance, constant speed means less time. His number 2 pitch is his slider. The slider is his best pitch. He throws it at 84 miles per hour, which is a 13 mile per hour difference from his four-seamer. Not only does it have a large velocity change, but the batter also has to account for its elite movement. So far in 2024, the slider has broke on average 15.3 inches horizontally, which is 9.3 inches above the average slider at that same velocity and release point. That break is second among starting pitchers, only to Joe Musgrove of the San Diego Padres. So far, the fastball and slider have generated a whiff rate of 33%, which is an increase of what he put up in 2023 and 2021. His third pitch, and in my opinion the reason why he's a lot more successful this year, is his cutter. This is the first year he's thrown this pitch, and it makes sense since a starting pitcher usually needs to have 2 pitches unless your name's Spencer Strider or Kevin Gausman and you're just that good. Now, this cutter isn't some crazy nasty pitch, but it serves its purpose for him. It sits at 92 miles per hour and it has around average movement, but what it does, it gives him a true third pitch, and he's not a 2-pitch guy anymore. We'll look at the cutter more once we start to get into the at-bats and how he attacks these hitters. He also mixes in a changeup that he's only thrown 6 times so far this year, and they've all been to righties, and it's not really that good. As you can see from the video, he doesn't have too much control over it, but it does give him that 4th pitch, and the righties do have to think about that in the back of their head. Take a look at this graphic that summarizes his arsenal, shows the frequencies, the velocities, and movements for his arsenal. Stuff that I like to see here is the difference in speeds that he uses and the differences in movements. Like I said before, the cutter serves an important role in his arsenal. It gives him a middle ground between the fastball and slider. The batter has to account for a different velocity and a different speed rather than just sit fastball, adjust slider. If we compare these to the league averages, you can see his fastball is a little bit higher than average and his slider is a little bit lower than the average for the velocities for these pitches. This difference throws the hitter off a lot when you go from 97 straight to 84, breaking 16 inches horizontally. If you look at the movements versus the average for these pitches, you can see that the fastball is a little higher and the slider has a ton more break than the average, something that the hitters aren't going to be used to when they're in the box. But that's enough of these numbers and graphics. Let's actually look and see how Crochet uses his arsenal in a game. I want to specifically take a look at this at-bat versus the reigning NL MVP Ronald Acuna Jr. This is a pretty good test here, facing a righty as a lefty that's usually a bit tougher, and this is Ronald Acuna Jr., someone who doesn't strike out a lot and someone who hits the ball very hard. First pitch, he goes with the fastball at his hands. Acuna takes a hack at it, most likely he was sitting on it since Crochet tends to open up batters with this pitch the first time through the order. But if he was sitting on it, he sure didn't catch up to it. Maldonado actually dropped this ball, which is not good, but it did gift us with the rest of his at-bat. Second pitch, he goes up with the fastball, this time 98, getting him down 0-2. He goes back to the same pitch again. Acuna is late on it, barely fouling it away, so Crochet goes even farther out of the zone up and in for the fourth pitch. Now he's thrown 4 straight 97 mile per hour four-seamers either up or in or both. Now here comes the slider. Swing and a miss. Maldonado couldn't even catch it, and he knew it was coming. This thing is just straight up nasty. Take a look at the overlay between these two pitches. It is hard as a hitter to account for both of those, especially when you take into account they have a 13 mile per hour difference. Now let's move to the lefty, another talented hitter in Matt Olson. This is the 7th inning. Crochet's up at 80 pitches. He's probably a little bit tired, so let's see how he handles it. He starts Olson off with 2 beautifully placed fastballs, one on the inside corner, one on the outside corner. He gets the call on one of them, so now sitting at a 1-1 count, he throws the cutter, and Olson is early on it as expected, as it's 4 miles per hour slower than the four-seamer. Now, up in the count, he throws an absolutely beautiful slider, doesn't get the call. This is the perfect pitch, 1-2 slider on the corner, breaking away from a lefty. He's not going to do anything with that, but doesn't get the call, should be out of this at-bat, but the 84th pitch of the game, and Crochet's throwing this perfect slider. That's how you know this guy's dialed in. The 5th pitch of the at-bat is a cutter, gets away from him. He goes back to the cutter for the 6th pitch of the at-bat, and he gets Olson on it. Here's an overlay of each of those pitches here. These 3 pitches work really well together, especially against a pull-heavy lefty like Matt Olson. A lot of people like to compare him to Chris Sale. Yes, he is a lefty that plays for the White Sox that has a good slider, but Sale worked a lot more horizontally with the sinker-slider changeup combo. This arsenal kind of reminds me of Shane Bieber, rest in peace by the way, with that 4-seam slider cutter combo. Obviously Crochet's throwing a lot harder, he's using a little bit differently, but they have similar arsenals. I wouldn't compare them as similar styles of pitchers, but the arsenals are similar. Crochet's just a unique guy, to be honest. There aren't a lot of guys that come in with this kind of stuff and this good control with 3 pitches that work well together. So I'm not going to try to compare him to anybody. I'm just going to say Garrett Crochet's pretty good. Now, what's the future hold for Crochet? Well, I want to see a little more from him this season. I definitely want to see him get 150 innings in this year as a starter. He has the stuff, obviously. He controls it well. He's 25 years old. It might sound crazy, but if he gets through enough innings this year, I would not be surprised to see him grab a few Cy Young votes. Maybe not first place votes, but I think he could definitely get some attention from the voters. The 2024 White Sox may not be exciting, but every 5 days, you get to watch this guy pitch. That can add a little bit of a consolation prize for White Sox fans this year, so keep your eye on Garrett Crochet. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like the video and subscribe. Also, follow me on TikTok at Willytics. It's a good little page over there. I do a lot more stuff on there as well. Goodbye.